Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is the show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I do not have a show. This is for October 2024. Well, I'm sure you all realize that the world right now is, at least in the United States, is absolutely crazy with politics. So I'm not going to talk about politics, even though I do feel it's kind of shaping the YouTube world right now. I've noticed quite a drop-off in drum covers from my friends who've been doing drum covers for years. Everybody seems to be kind of putting a couple out once in a while. It's very scattered. Everybody's kind of preoccupied with a lot of other stuff going on in the world. There's a lot of tragedy going on in the world. This week we're looking at what happened in the southeastern United States with Hurricane Helene. It didn't hit me because I'm on the East Coast, but hit the West Coast pretty hard. Florida, we're pretty much resilient for hurricanes, even though when we get crushed. We have a lot of things in place to kind of deal with a hurricane, but that didn't happen in Georgia and North Carolina where the hurricane hit. So we've got some real bad situations here in the United States, so pray for those people. I will say my strategy for the last month to kind of cut back a little bit on doing drum covers has kind of been there. It's been like 5 a week. Have to tell you, when I have some banked, it's hard for me not to want to put out every day. I have to hold back sometimes. I've been kind of staggering when I release a video. My biggest problem with my videos is I'm doing videos, and sometimes I sit there and I look at them and I go, do I want to release it? Does it really say something at this point in time? I've been having a lot of fun with playing jazz, different jazz things. I've been working on the Chick Corea and Return to Forever Light as a Feather album. I did 3 songs off of that. Did Light as a Feather, 500 Miles High, and I did Spain. And I was pleasantly surprised I got through it. I got to feature my new flat ride from Timothy Roberts. I really enjoy the 20-inch flat ride. It really does work with the Paistes. It works with the Zildjians. And I've had 3 drum kits set up in my studio, which I don't normally do. My travel kit usually just stays off in the corner or is packed up a lot of times. But right now I got the little jazz kit set up over there to kind of just work on jazz things. And then I've got these 2 kits set up. So anyhow, where am I going? I have no idea. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, having fun with it as best I can. I think the fun factor is the key here for life. Songs I do, songs I choose. Songs you ask me to do and I do, because you guys asked me for a lot of songs. Coffee this morning, tastes good. Just got my hair cut, looking better, I guess. Who knows? You guys asked me to do a lot of songs. It takes a while for me to want to do songs sometimes. I have a close friend, a close old friend. He was in my wedding, Bruce Holiday, who has been asking me to play these rock tunes. He asked me to do the Ramones and a whole bunch, he also asked me to do the Deep Purple song I did this week. He asked me to do the, was it Molly Hatchet I did? I mean, I've been doing some strange stuff this year. Molly Hatchet, the Ramones, Deep Purple, not the classic Deep Purple. Maybe this is a classic one. By the way, it's almost got 1,000 views, so I guess people liked Highway Star. That was cool. But all that to say is I'm getting pushed to try some different things, and I'm trying some different things. I want to do some big band. I want to do more jazz. I'm doing more, Fusac. I've been doing Spyro Gyra, and I've done some Rippingtons recently. So I'm just trying to have fun. And my sweet spot is playing pop music, to be honest. And when I sit there and I play pop music and I try to play it like the record and I'm locked in on this kid or that kid over there, and I'm just doing that, I really sound pretty good. I'm quite happy with my sound. I'm quite happy with the way things come out. But I need to stretch myself. Now, the problem is when you get older, your chops start to go. Some of the ways your chops start to go is your wrists start to hurt, your hands start to hurt, your back starts to hurt. You feel pains in different parts of your body. I'm dealing with all that, by the way. No different than anybody else my age. And because of that, it doesn't allow you to do the things you might have did when you were 20 years old. So somebody reminded me of that on the Highway Star video, that, Ian Paiste did this when he was 20. The speed of that song at 20 years old on that album, he's not doing it today. When they play it, it's back a few metronome markings. So I don't feel bad that I was able to cut the track at the proper tempo of the record and get through it. So I'm happy I was able to do that. That was kind of fun. But I do know my chops are suffering. And there are so many drummers out there that have such chops today. I can't compete with that. I can't even try. I mean, I've been going to a church, a gospel church, and I can't play the licks these gospel drummers come up with. I mean, I have variations of licks, and rudiments I use, but the linear stuff just doesn't come easy to me. I mean, I do a few linear patterns, but it doesn't come easy to me. So my goal on YouTube right now is to just be me and have fun being me and enjoy life being me. And if you dig me, watch my videos. And if you don't, I get it. There's plenty of guys out there to watch that are great drummers. Another thing about YouTube I've noticed, I have some friends that have similar subscriber counts or less than subscriber counts. And I'm looking at my videos. I've got a lot of videos. The one thing you'll see over my last almost 7 years of doing this is I put out a lot of videos. But a lot of videos to get the amount of views I've gotten is what it's taken for me. So I've been the content producer that's how I get my views, not by having big viral videos. And then I see other guys, they got a lot less videos, but they got a lot of views because they've had a lot of viral videos where they're in the millions. I have nothing close to 100,000 right now. I think the closest I got to 100,000 is like 67,000 views. So I have nothing that falls into the category of being viral, but I've got almost 3 million views. I'm at 2.7 million views. Now, why am I going to stupid YouTube stats? I'm trying to say something. When I look at channels that have my level of subscribers, which is just under 10,000, that's about what amount of views you get to get there. So the algorithms, they play with a lot of things, and I realize I'm never going to get that push. I wasn't here in the early days to get the push. I got in late, and since I've been there, I'm going to get what I'm going to get. Now, over time, maybe in another 10 years, I'll have a couple videos that are at like 250,000 views or something, because it's been the old time videos and I crossed the 10,000 sub mark and I got over 3 million views to 4 million views and whatever. But all that to say is the game of YouTube, if you're a YouTuber and you're trying to figure out how to do this thing so you can get more views, get more people watching your channel, unless you're willing to play the real game, which is buying advertising and getting somebody to market your stuff, and listening to some consultant that will get you 20,000, subs probably, no problem today. If you're not willing to do that and spend the money to do it, you're probably not going to get into that realm. The Rick Beatos are anomalies in actuality, and the guys in the music business. Most of the music guys that are pros, when they get over 100,000 subs, they've done very well. For us that are not pros, that are not anything special, for us to have 10,000 subscribers is a big deal. Okay, that means you've done a lot of work to put your stuff out there. So I want to commend all my YouTube buddies that have been doing this for a while and are trying and trying and trying. Just don't lose heart in it. Understand why you do YouTube, because if you don't, and I'm talking to myself right now, to be honest, if I don't understand why I do YouTube, which is the few people that watch and communicate with me, my community, and the enjoyment of playing drums and watching myself play drums, which I used to do for no subscribers. When I started doing YouTube, I would just put up videos so I could watch myself play. Now I've got 2,000 videos to watch. Every once in a while, I'll be mesmerized by something YouTube feeds me of my past. And I'll go, wow, I did play that song. That's pretty cool, and I'll watch it. It's just kind of interesting how this all works. So all I can say to those of you that are been doing this for a while, enjoy yourself, have fun with it. That's what I'm going to try to do. This show is one of my fun shows, so I'm going to enjoy these questions. If you have any questions, comments, please like and subscribe. I'm going to say that up front. I don't say it enough or at all sometimes, but I do appreciate those of you that like my videos. That helps to push my videos out there. Subscribing means you enjoy the content. I appreciate those of you that do that. 85% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribers. And that's pretty much the whole YouTube algorithm. I've heard all kinds of channels and different kinds of videos say the same thing. 85% of their viewers are not subscribers. So the truth of the matter is the algorithms are what's driving things. And unless I hit the right video on the right day that happens to be the right mood of the audience that day, it's not going to pop. Highway Star popped. I was shocked. I thought maybe I'll get 250 views on this on the first day or two. I'm almost up to 1,000 today. It's less than a week. And I'm saying to myself, there must be something about playing Deep Purple this week that somebody wants. So there's a lot in doing the content, but I want to do content I love to do, going back to that. That was a bear of a song. Playing an 8-minute song on YouTube, you got to look at the value. What's the value of playing an 8-minute song? Well, the value has to be for you. Like when I did those Return to Forever songs, Chick Corea Return to Forever, Light as a Feather album songs, they're all 8-10 minutes long. I mean, I had to cut the intros on a couple of them just because I didn't want to bore you with the intro, even though the intro is very cool. And if you're really listening to the album, you're going to listen to the intro, you're going to listen to Chick play his thing, and then the band comes in. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't leave it there for you, because you guys would have been gone half a second before that. So I had to start where it popped. That's Spain, I mean, I had to pop it right there, because if I waited for his long intro, man, you guys would have long gone. That's the one thing I've learned. I have a brush samba on there. I think it's called You're Everything. I did that years ago and I left the long intro in. I think I may redo that with just the brush samba part, which will make the song a lot shorter. But that's the part I wanted everybody to hear. But I felt like you can't really mess with the music. You don't want to mess with the front end of songs. But if I don't mess with the front end of songs, I'm not even getting anybody to watch these long songs that somebody wants me to do or I want to do. So that's part of the YouTube game too, is nobody has attention span to stick around longer than 1 minute and 21 seconds. That's my average time on watching the videos, 1 minute and 21 seconds. That is nothing, by the way, guys. So if you're enjoying something, if you're there for 1 minute and 21 seconds and you're one of my friends, like it for me, okay? That would be a help to me, all right? If you hate it, of course, don't like it. All right, I got a bunch of questions. This is Ask Earl Anything. I'm recording this on October 5th. So today I'm going to record this video. Hopefully I'll get it out next week. It's in the middle of the month again. Here we go. First question is from Adrian. Looks like Lyord 5300. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I have a bunch of drums, laugh out loud. But may I ask you, how many different drums and snare drums do you have? Thanks for sharing. All right, Adrian, here's the thing. Technically, I don't have that many drum kits, if you ask me. Not for a guy who plays and has done gigs in multiple places. So you need at least 2 kits if you're a gigging drummer today. You need one for your studio that stays set up and is ready to go. I'm blessed to have that. I'm blessed to have 2 studio kits. And you got to have one kit for the road, one kit to take out on gigs. For the most part, for the last 20 years I've been down here, my little gigging kit has been this little maple Gretsch kit with the 18-inch bass drum. All my kits have extra drums. Today, you don't need much for a drum kit. As a matter of fact, most gigs I do in town, I would do with 2 toms, a small tom and a floor tom, a snare drum and a kick drum, and a couple 3 cymbals. That's really all you need for a gig. 2 cymbals you can get away with, depending on the cymbals. I mean, if you're using something like this Paiste 2002 Big Beat, which has got crashability, you can get away with that cymbal and a set of hats, and it would work. So that's the key to that. But I have drum kits that have multiple drums. So the little kit, it's got a 6.5 by 10, an 8 by 12, and a 14 by 14. It's mismatched. It's got some 80s drums, some 70s drums in it, and it's got some Catalina Maples floor tom, because I wasn't going to spend $1,000 on a floor tom for that kit, which would have been the correct thing to do. A Jasper Shell 80s 14 by 14 maple floor tom would have cost me at least $1,000. $800 to $1,000. That was 10 years ago. So today, gosh, it could be $1,200. The cost of gear today is absolutely ridiculous. It's not worth it. When I see used cymbals up there, like a used 20-inch Paiste Giant Beat multi that's been around since 2006, one of the older generations, and it's kind of discolored and it's been played, well played, and the guy wants the same price as a brand new one, I'm going, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But that's where we're at now. Matter of fact, sometimes these cymbals are priced higher than what they paid for them. They're usually priced higher than what they paid for them. So that's the other problem with gear today. So you've got to be a guy that, if you're going to have lots of kits, you've got to be a guy that thinks frugally how to do it, or you've got to have tons of cash. I am not rich, so that ain't happening the other side of it. So I have the drums I need to do what I want to do. And some of my kits have come over time. Now, my main kit, a 14 by 20 Gretsch walnut kit with a 14 by 20 kick drum, 16 by 16, 14 by 14 floor tom, 8 by 12, 9 by 13, 8 by 10, and an 8 by 8 double-headed toms for the top. Those drums, those 6 toms and that kick drum, that's been my kit since 1979. I added a 10-inch tom and I added the 8-inch tom, but 12, 13, 14, 16, been there for a long time. I've had that kit for a long time. I could sell it for way more than I paid for it. I'm sure of that. I could probably get $2 or $3 grand. Definitely get $2 grand. Could probably get $3 or $4 grand for it if I sold it. But I don't want to sell it. It sounds good. It's mine. It's been mine for a long time. It's a vintage kit and it works. The kit I'm sitting in front of, this ConcertTom kit, there's a history to this kit. Just know that I have 10 toms for this kit. I've got a 5.5 by 6, a 5.5 by 8, 2 of them, a 6.5 by 10, 2 of them, an 8 by 10, 1, 8 by 12, a 9 by 13, which isn't here, a 10 by 14, a 12 by 15, which is over there, and a 14 by 16, and a 16 by 18 floor tom. I don't have a fiberglass bass drum. This is a Gretsch shell 22-inch bass drum that I got from my friend Scott in a trade, and the lugs were mismatched. He had like a couple pearl lugs with some Gretsch lugs. I pulled it off from a stripped-down Ludwig bass drum I had and put Ludwig lugs on it, which fit the holes. And this bass drum is a 14 by 22-inch Gretsch bass drum. It sounds like one. It's got the punch and the power. There's something to Gretsch bass drums, like that 14 by 20 is just kills. That 14 by 18 kills. I can get low end out of it. I can get the high end out of it. These bass drums work. There's something about Gretsch bass drums and toms that guys want. Snare drums are debatable, but you're definitely talking about, when you talk about the kick drum and the toms, Gretsch is the way to go. I've got 3 Gretsch bass drums. So this ConcertTom kit is fiberglass. By the way, I do have a question. I'll save it for that when I get to the question about ConcertToms. But that's how many kits I got. I got 3 kits with a lot of drums, so I can mix and match and do whatever I want. I also got 3 rototoms. I got an octobon. I've got hand percussion I can put in and create all kinds of funky kits. There's all kinds of things I can do with drum kits, and it look like I've had 15, 20 drum kits if I just set them up differently. That's not my thing to do, but I do that sometimes. Snare drums, I've got 11 snare drums. I've got 5 by 14 Black Beauty. I got a 5 by 14 Noble Cooley solid shell. That's a 1-ply shell like a Radio King. I've got a 5 by 14 Acrylite, which is an aluminum snare drum with die-cast hoops on it. I've got a 5 by 14 Gretsch chrome over brass lightning throw-off snare drum. So that's 4 5x14s I've got. I've got a 6.5x14 Black Beauty. I got a 6.5x14 cast aluminum DMR custom snare drum. I've got a 7x14 DMR one ply walnut solid shell snare drum, which sounds amazing, by the way. I did a video last month on DMR snare drums, just to give you an introduction to them. They're out of business. You can't get them anymore, but these were custom made for me, both of them. And then I've got two 13s. I've got a 6.5x13 Steve Jordan Yamaha snare drum, original with the original metal hoops. And I've got a 5x13 Pearl mahogany Omar Hakim snare drum. And the one snare drum I left out was I have two snare drums I left out. A 6.5x14 Gretsch that matches my drum kit. I didn't buy it when I got my drum kit. I bought it after the fact. It's had the bearing edges redone by DMR Custom Drums and the snare bed redone with a Done-It throw-off on it. Great snare drum. Sounds great. And I've got an 8x14 Black Magic, which is a brass shell snare drum. So I've got a lot of drums. So I can do a lot of different things with it. And the hardest thing here is determining when I want to move something and change something out. Because when I get a good sound, like this snare drum, this Black Beauty I've been using, this snare drum sounds great no matter which kit I put it on. I could use this snare drum almost every day of the week. It's fine. I've got the Noble Cooley cranked up a little bit, so I get different things out of the Noble Cooley. But if I put it in a mid-range tuning, it would be just like this, a workhorse. I've been trying to do different things with that drum. The 6.5x14 Black Beauty's got a special place, but I don't consider it as versatile as this 5x14 Black Beauty, not by any stretch of the imagination. And every one of my snare drums has got a certain personality that I use it for. So, a lot to be said for that, Adrian. Anyhow, thank you for the first question. And if I continue on this pace, I'll be here for 4 hours. So, I'm going to pick it up a little bit. I got another question from Eric O. Now, Eric O likes Little Feat, and he saw one of my Danny Seraphine videos, I guess the video about the drum kit. And he asked me a question about Richie Hayward. I love Richie Hayward. Richie Hayward was the drummer for Little Feat, 70s, 80s, 90s, into 2011 when he passed away and died of cancer. Quick question about Richie Hayward. Do you think, or would you admit that Richie's WFC drum sound, Premier Camco mix, was better sounding than anything with his newer kit, DW Sabian? Now, I think, Eric, you're kind of leading me in what you want me to answer the question to. I listened to some of the stuff from like Fat Man in the Bathtub and all that from that live album, Waiting on Columbus album. I love the drum sound. I love 80s drum sound. That's why I got a ConcertTom kit. I have a ConcertTom kit because I love the 80s fat, dead drum sound. That is my favorite drum sound by far. Then, the big open tom bonzo thing, that's not my thing. I have a hard time getting a real jazz sound out of my drums and recording it because I don't think in those ways. I think more about fat studio drums. So I love that sound. But I think his DW kit sounded incredible. His Pearl kit, when he did the Let It Roll album, sounds incredible. I love the Sabian cymbals. I love Richie Hayward's playing. I think we lost him too soon. He was one of the greats. One of the greatest drummers. He had his own thing. That fat back, Louisiana, swampy, Little Feat stuff it's not the same without Richie. That's all I got to say about it. So with that being said, yeah, I can go for the 70s sound. I thought his 70s sound was awesome. But I think drums are what you make of them. You can get DWs to sound that way if you want them to. I think our drum sounds have changed over the years for a reason. And the funny thing is, everybody's coming back to this old 70s sound. I follow a drummer named Joey Waneker. Joey Waneker's the ConcertTom king in LA. He's got some ConcertTom kits, I'll tell you that much. He's got some Blamere kits. He's got a Pro Fiberglass kit. He's got a CNC ConcertTom kit. He's got some other wooden ConcertToms. He's the guy going for that sound. That's his thing. And there's a couple other guys. Victor Andrizo, he's another guy that likes ConcertToms. I think every studio drummer wants or has a ConcertTom kit somewhere that they pull out for some reason. It's a certain sound today. But if you're out playing a gig on a main stage and stuff, you're probably going to use a kit that's got two heads on it, and that's going to be your thing, unless you're purposely going for that ConcertTom vibe. That's a whole different thing. But I think the sound of ConcertToms is so cool, and I'm glad I have a kit. And I'm glad I get to record this kit a lot and I have a lot of fun with it. Because truthfully, that's what drumming is for me on YouTube. It's playing my drums and getting them to sound close to the record and getting that vibe of the drummer. That's what I love doing. That's my thing. That's what I really love doing. So thanks for asking, Eric. Next question comes from Mickey F3730. Mickey's a longtime community member. Usually writes on most of my videos. Thank you, Mickey, for that. He said, this was on the Carpenters videos. He said, I agree with you that Ludwig were the drums of the 70s. I also recall seeing a lot of Slingerland drums too. Do you know if Slingerland made a big ConcertTom kits? Great question, Mickey. Slingerland made some of the best ConcertTom kits. Matter of fact, let me say something about Ludwig ConcertToms. I've been looking at ConcertTom. I still look at ConcertTom kits on YouTube. Not on YouTube. ConcertTom kits on eBay and Reverb all the time. I'm always looking for ConcertToms. Gretsch, Earl, Fiberglass. But I look at any of them that come up. And when I look at old Ludwig ones from the 60s and 70s, they are the most out-around drums ever. And they were out-around in the 80s. Some of these 70s drums were out-around in the 80s. I remember doing a couple gigs with people, and I had this one kid that had a cool drum kit with an 8 and a 10 ConcertTom, but the bottom of it, you can see how out of round it is. Ludwig drums go out of round a lot of times. That's when they had the 3-ply. They were not doing the 6-ply, no reinforcing rings drums. When they were making reinforcing rings, they had some of the worst shells for going out around at any of them. So Ludwig ConcertToms today are really, you have to really look at them really closely to make sure they're in good shape. Otherwise, they're garbage. The cool thing about the Fiberglass drums is they stay in round because that's what they were. They were made in round and they stay in round unless you do something stupid on it, like stepping on it or something and squashing it and breaking it. These drums are round. I put these Evans heads on them and they just open right up. The Evans heads are perfect for this. And I think the weak spot is the rims, to be honest. The rims are kind of, 1.7 mil rims. So, that's the bigger problem. If I switched all the rims out to heavier rims, it would change the sound of these drums, though. So I'm not going to do it. Plus, it's not worth the cost. But Fiberglass drums stay in the round. Slingerland made some really nice drums. And when they were making their 5-ply thick shells, those Slingerland ConcertToms were legendary for about 5 years. Guys like Nigel Olsson and Danny Serafin were using ConcertTom kits back in the 70s. Nigel Olsson's kit is legendary in itself. And that Nigel Olsson's kit, he had the first long toms that I ever saw. And this is like 1975. He had a kit with deep ConcertToms. I think his original ConcertTom kit was 6x10, 8x10, 10x10, 12x10. Then he had a 14x12 and a 16x14 floor tom. And he used it on the Central Park video, 1980, but he had that kit for a long time. And he had 6 of these kits made for him by Slingerland. And a couple of them had double-headed tom kits, long tom kits, with a wooden rim on the top and the bottom. And then he had the same kit double-headed with metal rims on the top and the bottom. And then he had a ConcertTom kit with, I think, wooden rims on the top, and then he had one with the metal rims. I may be wrong about the ConcertTom kit, but he was playing ConcertToms way back then. Danny Serafin had basically this setup with a 14x14 floor tom, even though Tate Berkey swears it's a 16x16. I know it's not a 16x18. We're all in agreement it's not a 16x18. But I swore it was a 14x14 when I saw him in concert at Madison Square Garden in 1977. But Danny Seraphine used to play an 8, 10, no, a 6, long 6 or a short 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, just like I got set up here, with a 14 by 14 floor tom or a 16 by 16 floor tom, as Tate has said. I think maybe switch back and forth. That's a possibility. I was going to buy a Chicago program a few months ago when Tate came out on Bart's show and Drum History Podcast, and he did the whole thing about Danny Seraphine, and I got some of the preliminary look at his stuff, so I kind of marked it up a little bit, gave my ideas. He did his thing. It's all Tate, but I almost bought my old program back from 1977. I found it online for like $20 because there's a picture that clearly shows it looking like a 14 by 14 floor tom. Then I was gonna, then copy and send it to Tate, but then I lost touch with it and didn't feel like spending $20 on eBay and whatever else. But if I ever find my original program from 1977, see in Chicago, I have it somewhere in this studio. If I ever find it, that is definitely something I'd like to share with Tate, that one picture. But I digress. Slingerland made some great concert tom kits, and they were in their catalog for the whole 70s. So if you wanted concert toms, Slingerland had concert tom kits. Tama made great concert tom kits. Pearl made great concert tom kits. Gretsch made concert tom kits. They all did. Concert toms were the sound of the 70s. So, all right, let's go to the next one. This was on my Jeopardy song. I did Jeopardy by Greg Kinban. This is Jonathan Cenciano. He goes as at Cenciano. He said, perfect drumming. Got a question. Is that a double pedal I'm seeing down there? I'd be interested to see you playing a double pedal song. Something more to learn from you. I have a double pedal. I don't play it well enough to say I'm a double pedal guy. I've tried a couple double pedal covers like Give Blood. It's out there somewhere. I haven't even been able to find Give Blood. It's buried in my 2100 videos that I have on my channel. But my double pedal playing is not very good. It's just not. I never gave it time. Got my first double pedal to play with in 1990. 1990, 91, somewhere in that point of time. The first one I bought was off a friend from work who was a drummer, and he had a pedal where it was the early DW pedal where you had the pedal was on a different, like you had a pedal here and a pedal here on next to your bass drum, and then you had an extension over to your left pedal. I had that until 2002 or 3 or 4. I eventually sold it on eBay, and I got my hands on a Iron Cobra double pedal around that time, and I use it very sparingly. I use it for licks. I'll see if I can come up with something. I think my most famous double pedal video where I played double pedal on it was Walking on Sunshine about 7 years ago when I did that video, and I did some double pedal at the end. That's my favorite version of me using the double pedal for anything. But I really don't play double pedal. That's the problem. I play it more like Jim Keltner plays it. Jim Keltner had a double pedal forever. Back in the 80s he was using it, but he would use it to make up beats. You know, he'd go doo-goo-doom, doo-goo-doom, dun, doo-goo-doo-goo-doom. Like, he'd make his patterns with 2 feet instead of doing singles. You go doo-doo-doom, dun, doo-doo-doo-doo-dum. That's the way I play double pedal. So I have no chops on it. But thank you, Jonathan. And if I ever come up with one, I'll make sure I tag you in it. All right. The next one. Question comes from Ed Kaminsky 8142. This is an interesting question. I don't know how I'm going to answer this question. He said, is there an easy way to learn different buzz roll note symbols? Has Earl had any self-taught tricks on sight reading notes on sheet music? I don't have any tricks for reading music, Edward. I can read music, and I do. And I actually practice. You know, I have a practice pad in my office next to my desk. When I get bored or I need just to do something, I'll turn around and play some paradiddles, some doubles, and I have a music stand, and I have some reading, and sometimes I'll just read sight reading for drums, it's called, snare drum. And I'll just play some snare drum stuff. I'm a terrible reader. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a terrible reader. Terrible reader can't read at all. I'm a mediocre reader at best. And when I play, I mean, you asked this question on the Chick Corea song where I was doing a lot of buzzing on the snare. I wasn't reading any of that stuff. I was just doing. Some kind of samba thing where I was doing those kind of. And then you asked me about buzz roll notation. I wasn't reading any of that. That was just me and jamming along with the song and listening to it and playing off the vibe. The standard notation for rolls is what I've always used. I will tell you, when I see a 30-second note on a 16th note pattern, this one. Let me do it on the snare. So the pattern is a 16 notes, but it's got a buzz on the first one. Like the first, let's make it just a one, beat one. When I see that 30-second note, I know it's two strokes. I don't think there's any better way to write it, to be honest, if that's all you're looking for. I don't think, it's funny when I'm playing rolls and stuff, a lot of times, when I'm playing rolls on the kit, I'm definitely not reading most of that stuff. That's all stuff that's coming out of my head. Reading snare drum, I'm not a good reader, Ed. I'm the wrong guy to ask about reading questions. I just am. I'm the wrong guy to ask about reading questions. I think you got a better question in here. I'm going to look for that. But thanks for asking the question. I don't even know what to say. Don't even know what to say. All right. This next question, I have two questions. One comes from Vince Gomez. The other one comes from Thomas Nussbaum, 4711. Both been followers for a long time. Vince has asked lots of questions on Ask Earl Anything. Vince's question is, great mix of cymbals. I know you've said that the 22-inch Avedis and the 22-inch Big Beat are similar. What are the subtle differences, and why did you choose the Avedis for this one? Might have been one of the Chick Corea songs that he's talking about. And then the next one comes from Chick Corea, Light as a Feather. He says, that's awesome, Earl. That's the 22-inch Avedis ride is... That 22-inch Avedis ride is sublime. Is that an old model? So, let's talk about the Avedis and the Paiste 2002. So, I bought an Avedis 22-inch ride about 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I can't even remember when I bought it. But when I bought the ride cymbal, I was unhappy with my 22-inch Carope. That's where it started. I bought a 22-inch Carope in 2014 at Maxwell Drum Shop. And Carope was the new thing that year. And I have one of the first round of Caropes. I mean, this is definitely a 14. So the newer Caropes are different than the older ones. I've got a real old one. It's probably worth something. Somebody's going to probably want one of the older ones. It's got a real... Tony Williams type vibe. It's 2360 grams, I believe, somewhere in that range. It's just super dark. It's just super dark. It has no stick definition. It's very quiet. So when I bought my Paiste Big Beat ride, it came after buying a 24-inch Giant Beat. I have a 24-inch Giant Beat. You rarely see it, but you do see it occasionally. The 24-inch Giant Beat is so big and glassy. It's a great cymbal. It's got a great bell on it. And it goes great with my 15-inch giant beat hi-hats, my 20-inch multi, and my 18-inch thin giant beat crash, which is a special cymbal because it's different than the multi. The multi sounds great too. The giant beats, all the giant beats sound great. There's not a giant beat I hate. And matter of fact, I was looking to buy a 22-inch giant beat when in 2017 I saw this online for a really great price, and it was less than the brand new that just came out 22-inch giant beat. They just produced a 22-inch giant beat, and I was going to buy the 22-inch giant beat, and then I heard this and I saw it for such a great price that I bought it. And it's just got a little something different. It's kind of dark like the Vinny Modern Essential Ride, but it's a 2002 alloy. So it's a little darker for a 2002. I have a 22-inch 2002 that I bought in 2000. I bought that in 21 too, I think. I love that ride cymbal, by the way. That 2002 22-inch ride is bold. It's right there. It's in your face. This is mellower. It's kind of in the family of this multi. The Giant Beat Multi 20 is a ride cymbal. I've used this on gigs with just this and this and a set of hats. It works fine. It's a great crash ride. This is a great crash ride. So, with that being said, why did I buy the Avedis? Well, I bought the Avedis because I wasn't happy with the Crope, and I needed a Zildjian that could play more commercial music on. I had this 18-inch Armand thin crash, 18-inch, my wife bought me in 2011. My good friend Mike Fasano from LA, he gave me a cymbal after Matt died. I went and saw him at a show in Fort Lauderdale, and he said, hey man, I just got this, Zildjian gave me this cymbal. I'm not using it, and it really doesn't fit anything I'm doing. I could take the rivets out and use it as a crash, but I wanted you to have it, and he gave it to me. So I got a 19-inch, beautiful baby Armand ride. Beautiful cymbal. It's very commercial sounding. Matter of fact, it was a little. If there was a 22-inch Armand, I would have bought that over the Avedis. But there wasn't a 22-inch Armand. They made a 21. They never made a 22. So then the Avedis came out. That was about 2016, and that's when Danny Seraphin played them at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I thought, well, that's a cool cymbal. They're kind of made like the Paistes, the 2002 big beats. And everybody was going to thinner cymbals. Today, there's a ton of thin cymbals out there, and everybody's making thin, dark cymbals. But not thin commercial ride cymbals. This is commercially viable. I could play this on an 60s tune, no problem, 70s tune. That Avedis, I wanted the Avedis, but I didn't want it to be as thin as this. This is 2366 grams. So I bought the Avedis, and I was looking. I didn't buy it by listening either. I bought it online. I found a great price, and I looked at the weight. And the weight of this ride is 2716 grams. So it was a heavier Avedis. Now, Zildjian was making for the Memphis Drum Shop a version of the Avedis just for the Memphis Drum Shop that was about 2,800 grams. It was heavier, it was on the heavier side. And I heard them, I liked it. This was an Avedis, not for the Memphis Drum Shop, that was on the heavier side. And I thought, I'm going to probably do better with the heavier ride. So let me go heavier. So this is 2,700 grams. By the way, I think this is like a 2000, either a 2020 or a 2021 serial number ride cymbal. So this cymbal right here just sounds right for a Zildjian. And I have a great set of A's now. I've got this, got the Armand Crash, I got the Armand Beautiful Baby, I got a 16-inch medium thin A Zildjian Crash that I got at a Danny Seraphin clinic that he got signed. I got a set of 14-inch New Beat hi-hats, plus I got a 19-inch Crope. So I've got a whole set of Zildjians. And I got the 22-inch Crope, and I got a set of 14-inch Cropes. All that said is, I think this is not too far off this. They seem to have similar spread to them and similar pitch to them. They're not exact, but they're close. That's got a killer Zildjian bell. This bell is okay. Nothing to not write home about. I'm a Paiste guy now. I love Paiste cymbals. But when I bought that Crope in 2014, I was going to be a Zildjian guy. I was going to be a Zildjian guy at that point. The interesting part of that story is in 2013, I was in Maxwell's drum shop around the same time of year, and I bought that 505 Crash from Danny Gottlieb. It was a Danny Gottlieb collection 505 Crash from 1970 or 80 in that late 70s, early 80s genre, Black Label. And I was trying to find something to pair with it. And one day I thought, let's try the Giant Beat 24-inch ride. And it worked very well with that 505. And then I bought the 20. And then I bought the 18. And then I bought the 15-inch hats. And then I eventually bought the Big Beat. So the Zildjian this is me basically having my Zildjian collection. If I collect anything, it's cymbals. I love cymbals. So why is the Avedis an old one? No, it's not old. This is very new. This is a very modern Avedis ride to look kind of old. That's the goal of it. The A Zildjians work excellent with my flat ride, which is an old A 20-inch flat top ride that's been cut down to 2,180 grams, I think it is, and by Timothy Roberts. And that flat ride sounds just right with these Zildjians. It sounds just right with these Paistes. I'm very happy with it. Now, the next question, and this is the reason why I'm not switching that cymbal out. User WO5HI6WO9D. I don't know who you are. You asked the question, can you please demo your Paiste Dark Energy Mark I ride? And the reason why I'm going to go to it now is that I just told you why I bought the Giant Beat cymbals to go with the 505 Crash, which is a B8 cymbal. Before I had the Giant Beats, I had this Paiste ride. This is a Paiste Dark Energy prototype, okay, Mark I. So this is just like a 20-inch Dark Energy ride, except for it's got the little S in it, so it's a prototype. It's marked with an S. I bought it at Forks Drum Closet. Does have a serial number on it somewhere. Yep, it's got a serial number on it. I tried to take off the black, the black Paiste. I hated the way it looked. It wasn't a proper logo. They didn't put a proper Dark Energy logo on it because they wanted to say this is a prototype. They didn't put prototype on it very well. If they put prototype somewhere like prototype, I feel better saying it's a prototype. But Paiste made a whole ton of them, and they gave them the Guitar Center and all over the place. Anyhow, I went into Forks Drum Closet. I almost bought a Zildjian and C 20-inch ride that day. I was with another friend of mine from work, and we played it. He goes, I don't like that. And I played this. He goes, this sounds better. And then I realized this sounds really good, but it doesn't sound as good with the B8s as the other B8 cymbals. Now, I've come to understand why I was attracted to this cymbal. This cymbal sounds a lot like Steve Gadd's K. That K that he used in the 80s all the time. It's very dark. It's very dry. It doesn't have a lot of spread. It doesn't have any tape on it either. There's no GAD tape on it. It sounds like the Gadd Ride, and I've done a couple covers that are Steve Gadd songs. When I do a Steve Gadd cover, I usually use this cymbal now, because this reminds me of Gadd the most. And I was always looking for that Gadd cymbal, so that's why I picked it. And after I had it for a while, I realized I picked that cymbal because it does sound like Steve Gadd's cymbal. I just didn't like it with the 505 crash. I tried to play that with the 505 crash and it wasn't doing anything for me. So I bought the 24-inch Giant Beat. So it's a very solid ride cymbal. It's got a beautiful ping to it. It's dark, but it projects. It's the Paiste alloy. If I had two of these, I'd send one to Timothy Roberts and have him make me a traditional, because it's the traditional alloy they use on traditionals, and take off some of the weight. The weight of this 20-inch is pretty. It's not light. It's 2348 grams. So this is about as heavy as. They're almost the same weight, these two cymbals. This is 2266. This is actually lighter than the Dark Energy. Anyhow, this is a cool cymbal. I use it sometimes. When I want the Gadd thing, I go for this. It's dry. It's kind of like a K-Custom, like the K-Custom series that they made for Gadd. But I think it sounds better, to be honest. I like the Dark Energy stuff. I played the Mark II. I think that sounds great too. And their crashes are amazing. They're just more money than the 2002s. And for me, I kind of dig the 2002s. Anyhow, cymbal madness, we'll call it. I hope that answers those questions, that group of questions. All right, last question. This is the last question. Comes from Edward Kaminsky, 8142. Sounds fantastic, Earl. Question. Is church drumming different than rock or jazz drumming? Do you play quieter, with less volume, different kit? All right, great question, Ed. I don't think church drumming today, in this day and time, is any different than being a rock drummer or a soul drummer or a hip-hop drummer. I think the music played in churches today is exactly like modern music. So no, there's no big difference. Now, I will say there are some stylistic things. If you're going to go to and I'm going to separate this for a reason. There's the gospel church, the black and Hispanic type churches. Some of the Hispanic churches go more towards the traditional white churches. And there's a difference. There's a difference in style of playing of music. I'm very hip to both because I go to a gospel church. I've played in a lot of the white evangelical churches in town. I'm just delineating it so you have an understanding there's a difference. The big evangelical churches, they tend to have big drums, big washy cymbals, big washy crashes, playing very simple tribal beats all the time, occasionally grooves. The gospel churches are playing more soulful, more funk-oriented, more linear patterns, a lot more fills, lots of hits, more complex chord parts. That's one of my biggest problems with Christian music in general in the church, is most of the music is 2-6-4-1, chord patterns all the time. 2-6-4-1, 2-6-4-1, occasionally a 5, 2-6-4-1, It just seems to be like the same music. It all sounds the same to me. And I think that's my problem. I enjoy playing music that's more diverse. Now, I will say through Christian music, my playing of Christian music goes back to the 70s, playing CCM and then playing in the church, playing drums with hymns, playing drums with scripture songs, playing contemporary Christian music in bands in the 80s, 70s and 80s and 90s, what I have found is that Christian music just goes with jazz and rock music. They're influenced by both. So the sounds of that are part of what you hear in Christian music. So there's really no difference. Now, do you have to play quieter? That's a good question. I have a friend who plays at Life Church in town. Life Church is one of the biggest churches in the country. He's the main drummer in one campus down here in South Florida. And he plays really hard. We were talking about it. He's not as old as me. He's a couple years younger than me. But he was talking about the aches and pains of playing, being old and playing hard. He's been playing hard his whole life. I will tell you this. If you don't learn at some point to play lighter and get the sound out of the drum, if you're constantly beating and bashing like you were told to do, like when I was 27 and I went to Nashville and they said, beat that snare drum hard, you got to hit it hard, kick drum hard. You play hard your whole life, you're going to have lots of pains. I have plenty of pains, and I've been learning how to play lighten my touch and come off the drums a little bit more, play with a looser grip. I mean, one of the things I've learned about my grip is pretty loose. That's why I drop sticks occasionally. If you do this, you crunch down on your grip and you play tight into the cymbals, you're going to have a lot of pain in your arms and your hands as you get older. I have enough as it is right now. So getting a light, loose touch is something you got to develop. But as far as the sound of the drums in church, I think most churches want drummers to play softer. That's why if you're at a big church, they have a big cage they put you in. I call it the penalty box. You get put in the penalty box to keep you quiet. And then they control your sound by the PA system. Okay, that's one way of dealing with it. I also played in a small church where we didn't have the penalty box. We didn't have in-ear monitors. And I had to play quieter. And it's quite hard to play quiet when you're a drummer with rock musicians that want to play louder. So that's another problem. But I do think learning dynamic control is very important for any drummer playing any kind of gigs, because you're not always going to be in an ideal situation where they want you banging it out. Sometimes you got to play soft. So learning how to play quiet is just as important as learning how to play loud. Learning how to state yourself with good presence quietly is just as important as playing it loudly to make sure that everybody hears you and you're playing hard as heck. You don't have to play hard as heck in church, but a lot of guys do because that's how they think they get the sound. And of course, if you're in the penalty box, you get away with it. But if you're just behind a shield, sometimes they still ask you, can you pull it back a little bit? You got to learn how to pull it back. So it's a fair question you're asking. I can't say it's across the board one answer. Every church is different. Every church acoustics are different. I'm just glad most churches have acoustic drums because electronic drums are terrible for church. I can't do it. I've played electronic drums in church services. I do not have fun when I have to do that. It's not fun for me. I'd much rather play an acoustic kit and have to batten it down a little bit and play back a little bit with my technique and play softer than play an electronic kit. That's just the way it is. But stylistically, I think jazz, rock, funk, R&B, hip-hop, those styles are what you see in the church today. So you have to play all those styles and learn how to play with different dynamics and learn what drums work for your particular situation, what kind of music you're playing. It's all those things and more so. Anyhow, that's all my questions for this week. That was a good sip. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed Ask Earl Anything. Remember, your questions make the show. Without questions, I don't have a show. Please send in your questions. Please like and subscribe. And everybody, stay safe and talk to you again next month. Bye.